Hello, welcome to another episode of Belly Behind Belt Mastery Series. Like every time, this time as well, I have another episode of Belly Behind Belt Mastery Series. Like every time, this time is, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, like every time as well, this time also I came up with something that's going to really help you improve your health, lose belly fat, and also as a functional nutritionist. I make sure that you get information that you can trust upon and also use in your daily life to achieve the results that you want to achieve. All right. So I am live now. So just let me know if you guys are live. Just say me, just wave your hand and say a hi in the group. All right. So today, another episode of Belly Behind Belt Mastery Series, we're going to discuss about how to conquer your cravings, right? Sorry about that. So today we're going to talk about how to conquer your cravings. Now, this is one of the important things that I've seen that people have a lot of issues with. Not only everyone in the group, but also my clients have issues with this. A lot of them suffer with cravings, right? So most of us are not able to achieve the desired results that we want only because we are not able to control our cravings. Now, there are a lot of aspects of it which we're going to discuss today that most of us don't know about, particularly cravings. There are certain aspects and directions to it which you will learn today. And I'm pretty sure this is an information that you can use for life, have it as a guide with you, and whenever you feel something is happening in terms of not able to controlling your food, you should understand that there is a reason behind it, right? So as a functional nutritionist, it becomes my responsibility. And, like I said, this mastery series is all about sharing information that you can take back, use, and see some results out of it. All right. So without any delay, let me get started with what I want to share today, right? So awesome. So here we get started, right? So we're going to unlock the secrets to conquer your cravings today, right? So we're going to unlock all the secrets and you'll understand what actually triggers cravings and why do you have these cravings, right? So let's get started with the first aspect of it. Why do cravings trigger? One of the primary reasons that most of us don't understand is nutritional deficiencies. This is one of the primary reasons why anybody or somebody has this cravings towards sweet, salty food or fried foods, right? I'm going to give you certain nutrients that you might want to check to see what kind of cravings you have, which will tell us what specific nutrient is actually contributing to that, right? So the first one is if you're somebody who's craving for chocolate and sweets, you should check your magnesium deficiency, right? Magnesium is a mineral that's going to trigger cravings for sweets and sugars, right? So I know most of us claim about this. In fact, recently in my Facebook group, I asked this question, about what is something that is going to create a lot of cravings for you. A lot of people answered the sugars. Now, most of us, you see a lot of men specifically have this issues because a lot of men very quickly get deficient with magnesium because of the physical activity or stress that they're going through, right? So this is one thing that you want to keep an eye on. Now, the second thing is if you're somebody who is actually craving to have something like, something which is very icy, something which is very clayey kind of foods, that you want to chew and eat kind of stuff, that those kind of cravings are primarily because of iron deficiency. Now, this is pretty rare, but this is also one of the possibilities that you can come across. The third and the most important thing, and this is the second biggest, if you ask me, that people are facing is salty or savory foods. I know a lot of them inside the group, and I asked this question, said salty foods, snacks, biryanis, and stuff like that, because they have zinc deficiency. Like magnesium, zinc also depletes pretty quickly if you're a man because of the physical activity that you're going through, right? So keep in mind that zinc is one of those minerals that you should always keep an eye on. So the best way to do it is basically supplement it. You can also get it through foods, which we'll discuss in a while, but the best way to get zinc is to actually supplement it. And let me know if you want, because there's different different ways that zinc can be supplemented, and there are various forms of zinc. I want you to take the right form which suits your requirement, like gluconate form, or glycinate form, and picolinate form, threonate form, all these forms, right? So we're going to discuss that in the next episodes or in the coming episodes, but today we're going to focus on the deficiencies. So if you're somebody who is suffering from salty or savory food cravings, that's because of zinc. Now the next one, this is again something which is pretty common. So somebody who is craving for probably something which is fried food, or fatty foods like fried rice and stuff like that, which are very, very fatty in nature. That is primarily because of omega-3 fatty acids deficiency. Now omega-3 fatty acids are really important for a lot of functions inside the body. We can probably have a couple of episodes talking about only omega-3 fatty acids and how helpful they are, and what is the ratio of omega-3 and omega-6 that you should have in your nutrition. But that's for another day, right? So today we're going to talk about how omega-3 deficiency actually creates cravings on fatty foods. Now, watch out for this. If you're craving for something like fried rices, if you're craving something which are fatty foods, which are, high fatty foods with sweets and stuff like that. Now, there are combinations, like I just said, in terms of having a magnesium deficiency and omega-3 fatty acid deficiency. So it is important to actually keep a check on these things, understand your body, and, when you crave for something, first of all, you should think yourself, whether is it for salty foods, whether it is sugars that I want to eat, whether it is something like, like we just discussed, anything that is fatty that I want to eat right now. Understand your cravings. Once you understand your cravings, we can identify what is contributing to that deficiency, right? So what is contributing that to that craving? Is it a nutrient deficiency or something else, right? So that is the first thing that you should pay attention to. Now, once you understand that, we can supplement the food, or you can add foods that are rich in these vitamins, and we can avoid these cravings. Now, how do we address these deficiencies? Like I said, there are basically three ways of understanding. First thing is adding foods like, whole grains, nuts, seeds, proteins, and all this, which can actually help you address these deficiencies, right? So make sure that, you add a lot of nuts and seeds and whole grains. Like I said, this is a basis of the nutrition, right? So if you're adding whole foods like nuts, seeds, greens, proteins, all these will help us actually feel fuller. At the same time, address these deficiencies, when we'll eventually talk about why feeling fuller is also important as part of addressing cravings, right? Now, second thing is, the most effective way of doing this is supplementation. So for example, how do you get supplementation done? Now, I wouldn't recommend this if you're not getting your blood work checked, right? As a functional diagnostic nutritionist, what I do is I run my clients through labs, understand what are the vitamin deficiencies and mineral deficiencies that they're going through. And based on that, we'll supplement, right? So if you're understanding craving is the first step, getting your blood work done is the second step. And based on that is how we decide supplementation. So if you're somebody who is who's feeling one of these cravings and directly want to take a supplementation, I wouldn't ideally recommend it. I would actually run you through the blood work to understand if that is a deficiency that we're aiming at in the first place, right? Awesome. Now, a third important thing which I said is listening to your body, right? So without you understanding and listening to your body, you will not know what deficiency should you address, right? So now that you have this guide, whenever next time you have a craving post your meal to eat a sweet, you do understand that is because of magnesium, right? If you have a craving to eat a salty food or fatty food, you know whether it is zinc or omega-3, right? So pay attention to what your body is asking for. All right. Now, the second thing, fantastic fibers. The reason I named it fantastic fibers is because of a lot of reasons, which I will be discussing now. This is one of the major contributor of why you feel cravings, right? So fibers are something which, again, divide into soluble fibers and insoluble fibers, but whatever type of fibers you're eating, make sure that you get enough fibers in the food. Here is the reason why you should good. I could only do so many reasons because there are hundreds of reasons why you should have fibers in your diet. The first thing is regulating blood sugar levels. Now, if you are actually having crashes post-meal, which we will talk about in a separate episode about post-meal fatigue, when you feel sleepy or tired post-sleep and what is the cause for it. But for today, let's talk about if there is something like that happening, if you have enough fibers, that can actually reduce that. Now, a lot of people do not feel fuller after a meal, and that's when they have little more space to, that's what they say, a little more space to eat something else, and something else that you're craving for. The reason for that is because your food is not rich in fibers. Now, once it's stabilized, so if you have good amount of fibers, that will actually help you stabilize your sugar levels. When there is a slow release of glucose, most of the cravings will also go down, right? So your craving to eat high calorie foods or sugary foods will actually go down, right? Now, second thing is enhances satiety. Now, this is something, satiety is something that you have to focus on, because a lot of people who want to lose weight, or who want to get fit, actually start eating less food, which is not ideally good. But eating less food is not a solution though. And now, when you're eating less, you should make sure that you get a lot of fiber from your food. Now, if that is not something you're getting, that's when you'll not have the satiety around food, and that you'll not feel fuller and you want to eat something else. Now, when you get these cravings, that is also because you're not eating enough fiber in the food, right? Again, it goes down to the basic thing that I was talking about, is listening to your body again, whether it is sugar craving, sweet craving, and whatever it is, right? So that is the second step. And the first step is to understand, why are you actually feeling hungry post a meal? Or why do you want to eat something post a meal? Is because there is not enough level of fibers in your food, right? Third thing, now fiber is one of those elements that can help you actually balance your mood, right? So this will help you balance your gut brain axis. For a lot of us who don't know gut and brain, there is a gut brain axis that actually dominate the whole metabolism in the body. And potentially a lot of times your gut triggers certain hormones from your brain, which will actually help you respond in a certain way. So again, that is, what are the hormones that are triggered by gut and everything else is a separate topic. But for us to make sure that, gut does not trigger something that will actually make you eat something else, make sure that, you are having probably, you're someone who's actually eating high fiber foods to actually reduce this emotional breakdown post a meal, or emotional breakdown between meals to eat something else. Okay. Now, you can also, fiber will also help you promote gut health, which will actually control your appetite. And, it actually, when you, there are certain combinations of fiber foods that can actually help you, reduce cravings for unhealthy foods, right? So if you take whole foods and, less processed foods, once you eat that, the craving to eat unhealthy foods goes down eventually, right? So focus on whole foods and, foods like nuts, seeds, like we just discussed, greens, vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, and proteins, so that the craving to eat unhealthy foods go down. When you keep yourself fuller, that is the first solution of not having cravings. Right now, few practical tips that you can take from this slide is basically, or from this conversation that we're having right now, is to add fruits and vegetables like we discussed. You can actually supplement fibers as well. There are certain fiber supplements that you can use. And when you feel like snacking, depend on high fiber snacks like, nuts, seeds, and fruits. Again, this is very individual specific, but these are the few ways that you can get more fibers into your body. All right. Now, the most important thing is mastering nutrient timing. Now, this is really important. So this is not what actually you're thinking at this point of time, which is like, should I eat this food at this time and stuff like that? But we'll talk about it as a baseline, as a foundation of what we're going to build on this, right? The first thing about the cravings is to mastering your nutrient timing. So I will tell you about a hormone which is called ghrelin, right? So ghrelin is a hormone which is basically a hunger hormone. That means your body will start producing this hormone when it is time for you to eat. So it is important for you to actually maintain a certain timing around your meals every day to make sure the ghrelin production is happening at the same time every day. When you actually alter your timings every day, body does not understand when to produce this hormone. Right. So that's the first thing that you want to know about nutrient timing. Now, targeted nutrient pairing is really important. So you might have heard this before, but let me tell you this again in a pretty easy way, right? So starting your meal with a protein or a vegetable is much more easier for you to actually avoid unhealthy snacks post meal. That way you can feel fuller, but do not start your meal like carbs, primarily carbs, like which are rice, white bread, and stuff like that, because that will not improve your satiety, right? So make sure you start with vegetables, you start with high fiber foods and, high proteins, and eat them slowly. To not rush through your meal, because if you're not are mindful when you're eating, you'll not understand how, what is that you're eating in the first place. And also savoring those meals for some time, enjoying those meals for some time will actually reduce your cravings as well. That's again the research that we talk about. Now, it is, like I said, preloading a meal, right? So this is very important. There are two things that you can do to avoid cravings during the meal as well. So first thing is preload with some water. So drink some water before your meal so that you don't, you can control your cravings. This is very much proven, right? So if you're somebody who is going to have your dinner or lunch, to reduce the amount of food that you're going to eat in there, I mean, at least unhealthy food, drink some water to make sure you reduce your cravings inside the meal. That's the first thing. And also start your meal, like I said, with fiber, right? Like we discussed about the timings, breakfast is again, this is important thing, right? So circadian rhythm. So everybody has got something called a circadian rhythm. That means, most of us don't understand this, but we don't feel hungry over the night because of a hormone called leptin. Right? It is high during the nights. So when it is high, you don't feel hungry, and the leptin goes down in the morning. And that's when you should have your first meal, because cortisol is a stress hormone, goes up. To bring it down, you should have your first meal. That's the reason a lot of people who are doing intermittent fasting should know why they are doing it for and what specific purpose is that for. Generally, adapting to an intermittent fasting diet for fat loss is not a great solution and not a sustainable solution, right? Which again, we'll talk about some other day. But, remember that it is important to have your breakfast as well to make sure, you balance your hormones. And that's when a lot of people suffer with insulin dysregulations. A lot of people suffer with cholesterol levels because they are not controlling their hormone by avoiding breakfast, right? Now, mindful eating, like we discussed, thermic effect of food. I know this has been exaggerated in the past, but this is absolutely true. Having high protein meals will actually help you burn more fat, because body is going to spend more calories to burn these foods, right? To digest these foods, I'm sorry, right? So if you're eating high protein meals, your body will be working a little more harder to actually digest these foods, right? So keep these things in mind. To sum it up, first step is to make sure you feel fuller and you eat at the right time in the day. These two are the first points that you have to understand when it comes to controlling cravings. That, make sure you eat at the same time every day and you eat fiber rich food, right? And the second thing that you have to keep in mind is make sure, after you post your meal, what is that particular food that you're craving for? Is it sweet? Is it savory? Is it fatty food? Based on that, we can identify what are the deficiencies you're going through. And the third and the most important step is to make sure you address it, right? The first step is to get the discipline or the consistency around everything. Second step is identification. And third step is addressing. Now, how do you address it? Either through food or supplementation. Again, do not blindly supplement something without getting your blood work done, because sometimes it can not be the same thing that you're thinking about. We have to understand and look into blood reports even further to understand whether it is insulin dysregulation or magnesium deficiency. So if you're at insulin dysregulation, supplementing magnesium, that wouldn't be much helpful, right? So keep these things in mind. I hope this was helpful. We'll again meet in the next episode. But till that time, if you have any questions, Belly Hacker Group is a group that I have in Facebook, wherein I answer all the questions and any doubts that you have around nutrition or exercise. So please feel free to join the group. And if you're already in the group, you can ask questions to get more information out of this. And this group is basically created to make sure I add value to every individual in that group, right? Thank you so much for joining this live session, and I'll see you soon.